Hello, my name's Shawn Sobers, and as you can see, this webcam's out of sync, so from now on it's just going to be audio only, I'm afraid. But yeah, hopefully you can still engage with me with just the voice and some pictures. I want to start by saying thanks for this invite to take part in the PerpiTube exhibition. I'm sad I can't be there in person or talk to you on Skype today. I hope you've just watched the video that I made, the 15 autobiographical moments of PerpiTubeity, and I hope you found it interesting with some things to think about and discuss. I thought it might be useful for me to just talk a little bit about why I made it and some of the thought that lay behind it. It's one of my core beliefs in life and my approach to education, that actually education exists everywhere in every aspect of life, and not only in the classroom, waiting for a bus, taking a dog for a walk, eating a meal. I think every single aspect of life, there's education entwined within every kind of action and moment. But it's up to us to be open enough to kind of see what those moments might be. In Alexandra Juhas's video book, Learning from YouTube, she explores how on YouTube, meaning is often lost to feeling, and she asks the questions, what can YouTube teach us? I was interested to take a journey through each of the YouTube categories to build a narrative and to kind of reflect on some of the content. But I did that on my own terms. So what you've just seen isn't content that was actually tagged to those categories. It's content that I felt was relevant to those categories in relation to the narrative that I wanted to build. So what you can actually see now on screen is those pieces of content again, but what they were actually tagged as in relation to what I tagged them on for my own agenda. And as you can see, some are in line with the narrative that I'm formed, and others I made to fit my agenda. The way we relate to our educational experiences is no different. We relate to knowledge in accordance with our worldviews, and the lessons daily life has to offer us at various points reinforces our current worldviews, and at other times it challenges them. We learn more when we are open to being challenged, and as education happens everywhere, part of my argument is, as world citizens, we need to be both consciously and subconsciously open to being taught and to actively look for the lessons in life, and that is regardless of which categories of identity we choose to embrace. Now, one of my approaches to education is actually to personalise education. And what I mean by that is a couple of things. One of them is, as an educator, not being afraid to actually draw on personal references to make certain pieces of knowledge and information relevant, so students can see how it's applied and relevant in a particular context, but also asking equally for the students to personalise their education, to see how pieces of knowledge and information are actually relevant in their own lives and how it can be applied. So they're not just abstract pieces of information and knowledge that are being banked in them, to use Paulo Freire's term, the banking approach to education, but actually for education to be from the ground up. So we are all, again, to use Paulo Freire's terms, we're all teacher students and we're all student teachers. We each got something to contribute and communicate, and we've each got still something to learn. So once you personalise information and it comes from the ground up, then we're actually absorbing it and it's becoming part of our kind of very fabric. But in order to do that takes a certain amount of humbleness by the educators to actually admit we're students, and it takes a certain amount of confidence for students to actually admit that they are also teachers, and it takes a certain amount of revolution in educational systems to allow for that dynamic and that conversation to actually happen in those establishments. So that's essentially why I wanted to make this video as a self-portrait, because I wanted to be reflexive in relating some of those moments back into my own life and re-representing it in a broader context, hopefully that will resonate with some of you that watched it. Now, I occasionally use Twitter, and one of the hashtags that I write to is what I learnt today, and in that I kind of try and force myself to reflect back on my day and think, okay, what did I actually learn from that day? What did I get out of that day? Some of it might be humorous, some of it might be sincere, but in the spirit of Paulo Freire and his idea that we're all student teachers as well as teacher students,
one thing I would ask you maybe to reflect on a discussion is not only what have I learnt today, and I'm not talking about what have I taught you, but it just in a wider context, what I've learnt today, but also to flip that on its head and to ask yourself the question, what have I taught today? And also to be thinking about categories. Which categories do you maybe embrace? Which categories do you resist? And also how those notions of identifiers may relate back to your learning and how you learn, and maybe reflect on some of those things. So hopefully you find this kind of interesting, and again, sorry I can't be there to take part in the discussion, but I look forward to seeing any responses that you make, and hopefully I can take part at a later stage. So goodbye.